Okay, in the last video, we built up the data structure we wanted, this tmap structure. Where is it? This tmap structure is being built up from the database um, and rather than hard coding it. But I cheated quite a bit. I hard coded in the row labels and the column labels, and also I've got this. This should never happen. I'm going to what we did was to build up this required data structure. The required data structure was a hash map which translated row column pairs. So this is the row ID and the column ID. It translated the rows and columns into the type, and every single structure should be there, and this should never happen. Let's defensively put in die. Okay. Let's put in a really officious looking error message. So this will only ever show up on the console. Improper, improper seat map. That's because we've done something wrong. If that kicks off, then whoever has to pick up that error message is going to be properly confused. Okay, don't worry, it'll never happen. Okay, how else did I cheat? I cheated because I've still got this tmap in place, so I should be able to delete that. Let's delete the tmap because I'm building that up. I also cheated by hard coding in the row labels and the column labels. Now this is a fairly common problem. What's happening is I've got a two-dimensional structure, and this is my index on one dimension, and this is my index on the other dimension. And rather than hard coding these, I want to build them up one at a time, and I can do that as I go around this loop. Every time I see a new row, I want to add to that. Every time I see a new column I've never seen before, I want to add to this one. So let's put in the row labels can start out as an array. That's an empty array. And let's confidently delete that. And the columns are going to go the same way. And every time I hit a new RD value, RID or CID, I'm going to add that in to one of these two. So I can say here, I can say dollar row label. It was push, wasn't it? Array push. So array push dollar row label and the row label that I just found. Okay, so that puts that in. And I can do the same thing for the columns. So this was col label, and that's the CL. Okay, that's fine, but they're going to be repeated. The rows are going to show up loads of times, the columns are going to show up loads of times, and I want them only to happen if it's a new one, if we've never seen it before. So I've got to find out if this value is already in the array, and if it's in the array, I won't put it in a second time. Okay, now there is a PHP way of doing that. It's probably called array contains. Array unique, that would be useful. Maybe I can use that. Array, I'm not seeing array contains. Array contains doesn't exist. Closest match. Array exists is in array. No, I'm not seeing it. And I don't really want to use it anyway. To get a unique list, the data structure I really want is a set. Okay, and I don't think PHP has got the concept of a set. If we were working in C# or Java, I'm pretty sure we could create a set object. A set object doesn't allow repeats. I don't think PHP has got one. Well, maybe it has, but anyway, I don't know what it's called. But there's something that we often do in situations like this. I'm not going to have, I want a row label is what I want, but I'm going to go for a row hash. Okay, so I'm going to create a row hash, change word row hash, and column col hash. Okay, and what I will do is instead of pushing onto the array structure that I want, I'm going to say row hash. This is a common technique that I use. Row hash of the thing I'm looking for equals an arbitrary value, and it doesn't matter what value I choose, so I typically choose 1. Okay, so this structure should have, I'll do the same thing for the columns. This means that I get a hash structure for rows and columns, and I'm gonna, at this stage here, just to show you what's going on, I'm going to die. That worked. And just to show you what's going on, okay, I want to echo. Now we want to see this thing, and I can encode JSON so that we can see it. Encode JSON. No, JSON encode. JSON encode. Yep. JSON encode $row hash. Okay, it's row hash, not row hash label. Row hash, and that should be col hash. Okay, so I set up empty row hash and col hash, and I just want to show you this structure that gets built up as I go around this loop here. To remind you, every time, so for every row, whether it's new or not, I set that value to 1. So if it was already set, I'm just overwriting that 1. If it hasn't been set, then it gets set. And we're going to see what that structure looks like. Let's just run it. PHP performance. Okay, that didn't work at all well. I get lots and lots of errors. Offset 1. Okay. It's not an array I want a hash. Where am I? Look at the error messages properly. It is line 40 is where my error is. Let's go to line 40. So that's where I'm setting the column hash. Oh, okay, I forgot that equals 1. Okay, all right, so I'm doing the same thing with the rows and the columns, and I'm building up a unique row array and column array. Let's clear all those ugly error messages and run it again. That's better. Okay, can you see the structure I'm getting back? AA is 1, BB is 2, CC is 1. So each value comes up just once. So I'm effectively building up the set that I wanted. Let's just check that it's working with the columns as well. So that was the rows. Here's the columns doing the same thing. So enc paste, JSON encode, col hash. And run it. And you can see I've got AA is 1, that's the row hash structure. Here's the col hash structure. Notice it's turned it into a string. That's okay. So string 1 is 1, string 2 is 2, string 3 is 3, all the way up to 18. Okay, so I have got more or less the structure I wanted. Well, this is a hash, and I actually want a row array. I want an array of rows. So that row hash is nearly what I want. I actually want a row label thing. So I can say $row labels equals. So I want to take this hash that I've got and get the keys out. So hash keys. No, there's no way that's going to work. Trouble with searching the PHP documentation is that if you don't know what it is you're looking for, it's hard to find it. Whereas if you search the internet in general, PHP keys, I want to get the keys from an object, from a hash. So I'm using the words that the rest of the world uses rather than the words that PHP uses. Return all the keys or a subset of keys from an array. Oh, okay, they are using the words I want them to use from a hash. Array keys, could have guessed that. Okay, so that's array keys from the thing I built up, which was row hash, and that's $row hash. And I want to do the same thing with the columns. And those are the things that I want here. Yep, So I hard-coded them before and I'm trying to rebuild them from the array. So col labels is col hash. Okay, and let's see if that works. So that is not row hash, that is row labels and col labels. I'm going to print them out so I can see what's going on. Let's put them on different lines. There's a dot there. And let's do the same thing here. Dot, bump, 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 bump. Oh, my typing's going crazy. Okay, let's see if that works. Nope, didn't like that. iCache, I've got a spelling error on line 44. Don't I put in an I there. Good. Try that again. Good. So I've got A, A, B, B, C, C, G, G. The only problem is that should be in the opposite order. That should be reversed. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, it has given me these values in the right order. It's given them in ascending order, but I'm suspicious. Usually in hashes, in hash structures, you can't rely on the order. And so I am going to sort. It may be a needless sort, but I'm confident that they've written sort right. So I am going to sort $col labels. Even though it came out sorted, I don't trust it. I don't want to rely on it. And I'm going to also sort the rows, but I want the row labels sorted in reverse order. And let's ask Google, PHP sort reverse. rsort, I'm sure it's called rsort. I've used it before. Yeah, there it is, rsort. Rsort can't be anything other than. Okay, I just also want to make sure rsort returns a boolean and it sorts the thing in place. So I'm going to reverse sort. Whoops, rsort the row labels and sort the column labels. Just check that works. Okay, that's GG down to AA, and these are sorted ascending. Sorts of things you've got to worry about is if it was treating these as strings, then you would have 1 followed by 10 followed by 11, because alphabetically the sorting is different from numeric. It's decided these are numbers. I'm going to be treating them as strings later. I think I'm done here. What I did was to, let's find the code. So I just used the same loop. So the loop I was using anyway, I used that to build up a unique list of row and column labels. Yeah, I think I might even celebrate with a comment. Where should I put my comment in? So this is build a unique list of row and column labels. That's what I'm going to be doing here. TMAP is the thing I want to build up. RDS is the required data structure, and I'd started that off with something. Don't need that anymore. This is going to be built up from scratch, but I do have to declare it. So that's the required data structure. Required data structure. This maps row, column, labels to seat types. Okay, so I'm building that up. That's my SQL. Prepare it, run round, use row hash to build up the unique list of rows and columns, set that structure. Need that, need that, need that, need that. I want to get rid of these. So these were just debug. Delete that, delete that, delete that. And row labels and column labels have been built up properly. If I come across a row label pair that I haven't seen before, I'll die with that impenetrable error message. But otherwise, everything's going to work fine. Let's just see if that's true. Don't you love it when things go right? Okay, I have been taking out my cheats. And I'm down, here's my list of things. That thing I can't get rid of, that thing I can't get rid of. Row labels I can get rid of. Seat data, that's going to go. I don't use that. I changed my mind about that. UMAP is still there. Pricing is still there. So UMAP is the next thing to tackle, and we'll do that in the next video.